Why does everybody think that Americans are stupid? We have such a rich history and culture that literally no other continent can compete. Like buildings date back to over 100 years ago. Like that was so long ago and the world was so different back then, and yet America still existed. I mean, can you imagine? 100 years ago, there were no cars or houses or phones. There were only farms and tents. And I'm pretty sure we were called Neanderthals instead of Homo sapiens. And I think that's why America has produced some of the smartest people on the planet, like Stephen Hawking and Leonardo da Vinci.
Well, new year, same defaultism. yeah, we're bringing it back. It is more US defaultism with your host, James Bray. And of course, there are tons of Americans like myself that fall victim to our habitual US defaulting. And what is US defaultism? I've said it many times in this series, but US defaultism, for the people who are new to this series, is basically assuming that everything in the world is US based. So you assume that a country you're traveling to, another foreign entity, if you are an American traveling outside of your humble abode, you also think the rules that apply back home apply everywhere else as well, because you are imposing what we call some US good old defaultism. This is not limited to traveling though. This is also very apparent on the internet, and that's exactly what we're going to be covering today. So if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. If you guys are returning viewers, welcome back. Also, let me know in the comments down below how you guys celebrated the new year, what your goals are for the new year, whether it be places you want to travel, people you want to meet, languages you want to learn, classes you want to attend, new skills you want to acquire. Let me know in the comments down below, because I'll let you guys know something for me. One of my big goals is to make it out there to Europe and visit a new country, a country I've never been to before, or a country I have not dived as deep as I've wanted to. So yeah, hold me accountable, guys. If you guys want to catch me live, I will also try to commit, this is a third pretty big hefty goal, to streaming on twitch.tv/JamesBrayGang. That link will be in the description down below in case I decide to go live and in case you decide to happen to catch me at the right time. But let's not waste any more time. Let's actually look at some of your comments from my last video in this series, because you guys are absolutely hilarious, and one of y'all said I don't read the comments. Finish here. A year ago, an American who came to stay at our boarding house in the summer was amazed by our technology and said, "How can you have cell phones? I thought you guys had horse carriers in Europe." Yep, Nokia's homeland, Finland. It absolutely blows my mind how many Americans think that Europe has zero technology throughout all of the countries. It's insane. That's absolutely insane. And I also learned something new in that comment, because I did not know that Nokia's motherland was Finland. That's crazy. I bet you bulletproof vest companies will also be knocking at your door, because those Nokias are indestructible, okay? I've had several in my lifetime and none of them broke. I mean, maybe the internal components at some point got a little fried, but externally, those things were Teflon tough, okay? Absolutely insane. I feel like if you built a tank out of the same material they used to build a Nokia phone out of, I don't know what secret sacred sauce you have in your mixture over there when it comes to building these phones, but good Lord. You guys are doing some very interesting work right there. Our country's names are not alternate. They're the original names in the spoken language. An alternative name is the English one for the English speakers. We all call countries different names according to our language. That was a dig at myself, because I said something that was not smart. I made a statement somewhere along the lines of, let me know what the alternative names for you guys' countries are in the comments down below, making the assumption that the names I knew those countries as were the only primary names for those countries. Like, for instance, Estonia, Greece, Germany, Switzerland, Belgium, things like that. I was like, yeah, those are the original names. There are, you know, the other names are obviously secondary, but that was very ignorant of me to say. Like I say in all my videos, I'm just as bright as the next American, okay? I'm American at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? So I understand I messed up, and this comment called me out and definitely highlighted something and taught me something new, and I really appreciate you guys for doing that. Keep doing it in the comments, okay? There's a lot I gotta learn. In fact, I got a lot of flack earlier for making the statement about those paper towel dispensers, but we won't get into that. We covered that in my last video. Not knowing that there are different countries other than yours and your country is not the world is not a matter of traveling. It's a matter of learning and education. And I could not have said that better myself. In fact, I think one of the biggest things that actually makes the US defaultism thing so crazy is the lack of education for a lot of people making those statements, including myself. I make some statements that are absolutely wild from time to time. And it's literally, me just not being informed. And so I have to take responsibility, do a little research, correct myself, come back with a newfound knowledge, and make sure I never do that again. All right. And that's why we make these videos. So we have a lot of interesting posts that I have discovered scouring Reddit. We're going to go ahead and have a nice little chuckle now, aren't we? I mean, we have to start the year with a laugh. Now, before we get started, please do me the honor of liking this video and subscribing if you haven't already. Our goal this year might be a little bit ambitious, but 1 million subscribers by this December. Let's see if we can make that happen. It doesn't have to happen, but it'd be nice if it did. I have a little something for you guys if that does happen to be the case. So tell your friends friends about the channel. They might get some enjoyment out of something like this. Anyways, before I pain myself, did you grab a snack? Cool, because our first post is going to be very diabolical, as it always is, as our first post has the caption which says, someone at Duolingo forgot their users aren't all American. And I'm pretty sure you guys are just as curious as I am as far as what this is referencing to, so let's go ahead and look at the screenshot, and it's pretty crazy. Now, I can't be entirely sure, but this definitely looks like it's Mandarin. Now, if I'm incorrect, please let me know in the comments down below. But right here, it says there are two options, junior and freshman, and the correct answer is junior. But the very funny thing is, I don't think that's how the schools are set up over there. So, a little bit of defaultism from Duolingo, but I'm not surprised because Duolingo's been having a multitude of issues. I would actually highly not recommend getting Duolingo, even though I have the Duolingo bird in a lot of my videos. I would highly recommend not using the Duolingo app. It is actually trash. We have a few comments from the people, so let's check those out. Our first comment says, wow, that's a good one. I don't even think that other English-speaking countries use those words. And to make it even more confusing, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior apply to both high school, 9th through 12th grade, and university undergraduate students. So it's not even technically correct for American English. And that user is absolutely correct. Very interesting observation there. And of course, assuming that every other country in the entire world uses the same terminology is actually insane. I mean, I don't know what the terms are for every single country in the world when it comes to the different levels, different grades and tiers when it comes to education, but something I'm open to learning. Our next comment from one of the users says, people still use Duolingo? Unfortunately, yes. Someone's got to keep them in business because if that weren't the case, they would definitely not be visible. I unfortunately have the app on my phone as well. I was too lazy to uninstall it, but I might need to work on doing that. I have some hope that Duolingo will return to its former glory, but I think as they get greedier and greedier, I'm thinking that that's not going to be the case. There are many other American exclusive words used by Duolingo, although these are some of the worst due to how few people outside of America know what ages they refer to. Even if you do know what the words mean, it's still distracting to have words used that you've never heard used in real life or have a different meaning, like for example, fall. I doubt that it's hard for Duolingo to just have an option to switch out American words for Commonwealth equivalents. Again, the key word here is greed. I don't think Duolingo gives 5 flying fidgets about making their app more efficient and effective for the learners on that app. It cares about money though. So very good comment, very valid points. I don't think it's going to fall on any ears that are willing to listen. There are apparently no gay people in Australia and New Zealand. Okay. Are you lost? Because I am. Let's go ahead and see what this caption was referring to. You'll see here that two gentlemen are sharing a juicy kiss, and up on the top it says, these guys are the official first gay kiss of 2026. And of course, the comments were definitely giving this user somewhat of a figurative side eye, because, I mean, New Year's happened all over the world, and we don't truly know this, right? This celebration took place in New York, as you can see here by the CBS News New York and the Times Square Alliance over here. So, of course, people are like, come on, guys. The world is not America. America is not the world. There are other countries in the entire world. So this definitely had the comment section turning up, and our first comment that clapped back says, in all of Asia and Europe and Africa, and I personally saw a gay kiss 6 hours before there could have been one in New York. Ladies and gentlemen, it has become apparent to me that most of us Americans do not understand the concept of time zones and the fact that obviously worldwide there are very, very, very many countries that are in different time zones. Not every country operates under the United States' many, many, many time zones. In that one section, because the United States has many time zones too. It's so crazy because that concept definitely does, it does beat a lot of people because the United States does have several different time zones within it, and I think there are some Americans that just don't get that as well. They're like, what? It's 2 p.m. It should be 2 p.m. where you're at too. No, that is not how this works. Official? By what power? See, that's a question I don't think any of us will be able to answer. So let's just go ahead and move on to this next comment, which says, I'm so glad most of the comments on that post are pointing out that New York City is not on the date line. Very good observation. It only gets worse from here, trust me. So grab a snack, sit back, relax, and keep that blood pressure a little on the lower side because it's going to get a little crazy. This reply to a video of Margot Robbie spelling out the Auslan alphabet. Oof, I know exactly where this one's going, and it's not pretty. Let's check it out. Now, as we can see here, this lovely individual who goes by the name Manny comments on Twitter saying, now what kind of sign language is this? This isn't the same ASL alphabet I learned in school. And you can look here and see that American Sign Language, I mean, it says it in the name, American Sign Language. That's not universal sign language as American Sign Language. So obviously it's going to be different depending on where you're located. And the comments, let's just say the comments were pretty unforgiving. Our first comment says, I probably should have included a screenshot of the original post he replied to because a lot of people aren't understanding. I'm so sorry for not making it clear. Here's the post he was replying to. And underneath that, it shows the original post from a Margot Robbie parody account. And it says, Margot Robbie realizing that her fan has a hearing problem and leaving her hand free to speak sign language. And I'm glad the original poster made things a little bit easier for everybody to understand and clear the air a little bit. Because as I always say, context is key to understanding what the issue actually is. Now, our next comment says, fun fact, Auslan is similar to British Sign Language and American Sign Language is similar to French Sign Language. Check that on the list of things I also did not know in my entire life. That's actually insane. I had no idea. Now, any type of sign language, I have zero literacy in sign language at all. My sign language abilities in any language are trash. I literally do not know. But again, open to learning. I think I'm trying to take on more languages now than I think I can actually fit on my plate. Wait, there is different sign language for different languages? Why? Isn't this making it harder to actually communicate? This should be the same as Morse's alphabet. One for everyone. And the response underneath that actually was pretty interesting as it says, well, different spoken languages exist as well. We don't have one for everyone. If we want to communicate with others, we learn another language. Absolutely. That's how that works. You know, when you travel, I think one of the biggest things that makes things a lot easier is learning the language of the place you're traveling to. When you want to engage with other people who speak different languages other than your own, then making the extra effort to learn said language will actually open up the amount of people you're able to communicate with in addition to the people you already can communicate with. And I think that's a pretty huge flex. But let's get into this next post. Playboy Cardi thought Lollapalooza, India is in Indiana. I'm sorry, what? As we can see here, it says breaking. Playboy Cardi reportedly agreed to Lollapalooza, India, after mistaking it for Indiana, USA. Sources say Cardi is now trying to cancel after finding out India is a whole different country. Now, there's a lot of things we've seen frequent this channel, quite a bit. All right. But this has to take the cake for one of the most unique things I've ever seen, because mistaking India for Indiana? We have this beautiful meme right here. It says, where are you? I fucked up. How? I went to India, not Indiana. Just tell me you don't love me. Boom, sends a picture. What the fuck? Oh my God. Crazy thing is, I do remember seeing that image years ago, and that is hilarious. That is hilarious. All right. There are some instances where a little US defaultism can be hilariously diabolical, and this is one of them cases, okay? India. Must be a typo. Yeah, I bet they meant Indiana. That's the only logical explanation. I'll go. Yeah, I genuinely don't understand the mindset or the thought process behind receiving word that India wanted to host him as a performer over there. And he's like, yeah, they definitely meant Indiana. I'll be in Indiana. That's like a 2-hour flight from me. I got you. Well, in his defense, it's kind of dumb to say a country's name for an event instead of the city. Almost every festival I've gone to, especially ones who host multiple ones each year in different places, always use the city's name in their title. Should be Lollapalooza Mumbai. Absolutely. I mean, that would make a lot of sense. So maybe there's more to the post than meets the eye. Who knows? I do know that we have another post, and our next post says, comments are full of this, but this one made me laugh. Well, I'm down for a good laugh. What about you guys? So if we look at the top of this post here, it says the best one-year route around Australia for optimal weather. And the top comment in this thread says, desert in the middle of May would be hella cold though. And it has 316 likes. The comment responding to that says, May is beginning of summer, buddy. And then the following comment is, not in Australia, buddy. And then the comment underneath that says, why would we be talking about Australia? Oh my God. Oh my God. A map of Australia. And the user is saying, why are we talking about Australia? You know, some of these make my head hurt. Some of these do. And this one kind of did. Okay. Not for the shootings. You could easily convince me they don't have schools in America. Ouch. This is my pick for 2026, and we're only 3 days in. Yeah, we aren't very far in. I mean, by the time you guys see this video, it'll be probably a few weeks into the year. But yeah, very, very wild. I just can't believe what I read. Also, just want to point out that whoever made this has never suffered through a Melbourne January. There's a reason the entire city flees to the coast for the whole month. Hold up, how bad is Melbourne in January? All my Australians watching this, y'all good out there? Let me know how wicked it gets out there in January, because I just simply don't know. Let's get to this next post. It might be a Texas thing. And if you just asked yourself what might be a Texas thing, don't worry, I asked myself the same question. So for context, this is what the post is talking about. So right here you have a TikTok video with the caption at the top saying working in retail, checking IDs in 2026. And the top of this comment here says it might be a Texas thing, but I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be allowed to purchase alcoholic drinks until you're 21. And then of course it has 21 likes, and underneath that it says it might be an American thing, but other countries exist. And underneath that comment it says, how do you watch a skit, hear clearly not American accent, but still assume they're in the USA? Crazy thing, but other countries exist with different laws and age restrictions. What gets me is a lot of the US defaultism stuff. It's nuts. You get to see it real time when traveling and whatnot. And when there's laws that align with the United States that are polar opposite in other countries and stuff, the reaction, although very visceral, is very interesting. So particularly when it comes to alcohol related things, right? It's like, ew, that's disgusting. Why would the drinking age be 18 or 16? That's horrible. I'm like, that's just the culture, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, not every place is the United States. And the way that the United States does things, not all of it is gonna be well received, right? It's gonna be just look different. It's gonna be different depending on where you go. Anyways, let's check out these comments. Our first comment says, how are Americans so oblivious to the possibility that other countries have different laws? Very good question, and I don't have a great answer for you. All I can say is that this simply boils down to people defaulting when they travel. You know, they're like, hey, look, I wasn't allowed to do this in my country, which means no one's allowed to do this anywhere in the entire world. If, you know, smoking that green was illegal in all of the United States, but it's legal in a country outside of the United States, then it would be quite common for an American tourist to be like, hey, you can't be doing that. You'll get in trouble. It's like, no, I won't. This is not the United States. This is whatever country. You know what I mean? So that's applicable in many different facets as well. But That makes too much sense. So let's go ahead and move on to this next comment. If anything, I'd assume Texans came out the womb drinking. That's fact. They be drinking out there, man. I ain't gonna lie. They be drinking. Anyways, let's get into this next post. I don't know what to say. Let's see if this post makes us just as speechless as this caption. The top comment of this screenshot says, "Stupid slurping is not necessary." Underneath that it says, "It's considered normal in Japanese culture. It's a sign of enjoying the meal." Underneath that it says, "Well, that's truly fine, but it's something that just needs to be aired on Japanese channels. It's not what we do in the States." Underneath that comment, the user responds by saying, "The internet connects the entire world via undersea cables. Welcome to Earth." Underneath that, the person says that slurping is still uncalled for. We move on to the next part of this thread here. It says, "Do you not understand how the internet works?" Clearly, this American user did not, in fact, understand how the internet works. Because good Lord, again, if there's something that you see that you don't agree with, maybe it's a custom or a courtesy or something, right? Just for a quick moment, ask yourself, is this taking place in the country that I reside in? But before making assumptions, or B, they think that they exclusively own the internet and anything that is not American adjacent needs to be off of there. Let's check out these comments though, because they had a lot on their minds. All right, our first comment says, "When you put something online, it has to cater to American sensibilities and culture, don't you know? I truly believe that we Americans think that we own the entire internet and all of the happenings on it. And it's very apparent by the slew of posts we see here." Oh boy, that is not good. Our next comment says, "I noticed in a lot of US TV shows, people scrape their teeth along the fork when consuming food. It's like nails on a chalkboard to me." You know what's funny? I didn't notice that until you brought it up. That's crazy. I guess something about that does bother me a bit, but there's eating habits that plenty of people have where I'm like, oh, I don't really get bothered by a whole lot of stuff, to be honest. But I think anything clinking on the teeth just sends a shiver down my spine a little bit. Ugh. I can't stand the sounds of people eating, but on a video, you can always turn the volume down or off entirely. And in public, I just bring noise canceling headphones or earplugs. Bingo! If the sound bothers you, if a video bothers you, if a piece of content bothers you, you know, in this great era of social media, yes, you have a superpower that is absolutely devastating to that type of content, to any type of content you don't like, actually. It's called taking your eyeballs and looking somewhere else. Taking that finger and clicking on a different video. Because the second you lay your eyes on something you don't like and keep watching, you know how these algorithms work, right? They'll just keep feeding you that for the next 30 plus days because clearly they think that you enjoy that type of content. So for this user, I'm pretty sure that user's algorithm is absolutely cooked. Cultures differ, etiquette rules differ, but I suppose there's one cardinal rule that's probably universal. You never ridicule people by throwing in their face that they are impolite. There are far better ways to tell people that some habits might be seen as a bit off to locals. Hellas, there seems to be those who think that every message has to come out of the barrel of a gun and that any difference should lead to just another cultural war. I'm not a strong believer of if in Rome, but it's not hard to stick to one's own etiquette standards without annoying others. Not announcing oneself large and loud as the best thing that ever happened in the place is usually all it takes. And that was very eloquently put because yes, there are still ways where you can still apply your home etiquette standards, whatever, to a new environment without overstepping and getting in the crosshairs of the country that you're visiting. Like if it's, normal in your country to eat a certain way and in the country you're traveling to, it's not normal to eat the way that you're eating, you can still eat how you normally eat without interfering with other people's way of eating. Instead of telling everybody else around you in this new place you just traveled to that what they're doing is wrong, you can just do what you do by yourself and leave everybody else the fuck alone. And then the very last portion of that statement really hit me in the chest because that is literally why we have these US defaultism videos, right? Going into another country and saying that you're the greatest thing since sliced bread and that they should conform to you instead of, you, the visitor, visiting the country to get an experience. conform to that culture, it's interesting. It's like, where do people get off thinking that country they're traveling to should adopt their cultures and their traditions when they're but a visitor? Honestly, I've been living here for over 10 years and I still feel like, can you not do that every time someone is slurping in the same room as me? It makes me want to leave the room and get away from it. The "not what we do in the States" comments in the screenshot are obviously stupid though. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that you can't be annoyed by some of the customs and courtesies and traditions in different countries. That's kind of part of the entire encompassing experience of traveling, right? When this person obviously has been living in Japan for 10 years and does not to this day like the loud slurping noises. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of other people from different cultures and backgrounds that would feel the same way. So understandable. But again, you know, two things can exist at the same time. The cultural differences that stand between both you and the host country. And then, you know, you guys can enjoy yourselves in peace and harmony without intertwining and overlapping each other. So it's just, you know, you got to find a way to work around the things that make you uncomfortable. And that is a part of living. That is simply how to navigate the world with other people. Our next post is a doozy. Let's check it out. User shares American Sign Language signs and calls it basic sign language as if there are not hundreds of sign languages around the world. I think I'm starting to notice a trend here in this video. We've covered a couple of sign language posts prior to this, just in this video exclusively, because I have not seen this mentioned at all in any of the other US defaultism videos. So this is news to me. Oh my gosh. Like, again, I was definitely mind blown that there were different languages in sign language, and that's just me and my own US defaultism. I thought ASL, American Sign Language, was the universal thing for everybody doing the sign language thing. You know what I mean? So here it says a cool guide to basic sign language. And now you see here it says yes, no, thank you, sorry, hello, I love you, goodbye, please, you are welcome. Family, house, and love, right? And there's a lot of engagement here. This is off of the thread r/cool guides, and the comments were ripping this post a new one. Okay. Because basic sign language, one thing. If they said basic American Sign Language, they would have completely been safe from this thread. But unfortunately, they just said sign language. So let's check out these comments. Our first comment says, easily one of the worst repeat offenders for US defaultism out there. And trust me, at this point, I know, and I understand, because I have done that myself. I literally just did it in this video. I think I kind of had some slight awareness that there were variants of different sign languages, but I guess I just thought it was one universal language for some reason. And I don't know why I would have assumed that, but hey, that's what I assumed, and this video definitely corrected me. So I know one hand sign that is known all around the world. Interesting. What hand sign is that? Could it be this one? I think a lot of people sort of assume all sign language is the same, like it's a universal language. I did the same for a very long time, and then I learned that it's a language like any other. It has dialects, varies from area to area, but it's just not spoken vocally. That makes a lot of sense as well. Not only are there different types of sign language, but there's different dialects and stuff like that. There's different slang variants of different terms in those variants of sign languages as well. So that's actually pretty cool when you think about it. It's multifaceted, and I didn't know that. I genuinely did not know that. I thought it was one big common language, and I'm like, okay, cool. Definitely, this is one of those the more you'll know, the farther you'll go situations. Okay, let's go ahead and check out this next post. USD is the only currency. For my people who've seen many of these series before, you know exactly what direction this is headed in. All right, let's look at the thread that this is referencing. $550, 3 bedrooms. How is that possible in the States? And the reply underneath that says, they're from Perth, AU. Underneath that, the original user responds by asking, what's AU? Perth is an American city. And underneath that, the user responds back by saying Perth in Australia, the original one. And underneath that, this American says, what do you mean original? Most people are broke there. Underneath that, it says, can you even point to Australia in a map? Whoo! Oh, did you guys get a huff of that copium too? Because, oh my gosh, the second this user in the comments was getting their shit packed in and they realized, oh boy, I guess they're right. I guess Perth in the United States was not the first Perth. It was in Australia. Okay, I don't care. We're better. We're just better. Elephants don't beef with ants. How big-headed of us. Anyways, let's look at these comments. Our first comment says, is the original one not the Perth in Scotland? And the response underneath that says, yes. Yes, it is. Huh, we have a bit of a dispute here. Now I need to go ahead and do a little bit of research to verify this statement because, yeah, some things were said. Some things might not have been accurate. The original Perth is a city in Scotland located in the central lowlands on the banks of the River Tay. Looks like technically Scotland takes the cake here, so... yikes! The original one? Interestingly enough, the comment underneath that is from the original poster that says, that's a mistake by whoever was arguing, but the main defaulting is USD. And then underneath that it says, both defaulting, which is very true. Both individuals were defaulting and it was like a default off. They were defaulting to see who out defaulted the other. You know what I'm saying? And that happens. Although this is definitely a series on the channel that you guys enjoyed watching, defaulting is not limited to the United States. Every country does it in some way, shape, or form, right? People from all over will travel to other places and sometimes do the same thing. I mean, not all Americans impose their US defaultisms in other places, just like not all people from other countries impose their defaultisms in other places as well. It just happens to be that we make a wild fool of ourselves most of the time when we do that, and it winds up here. So it's interesting that this wound up happening. We caught some good old-fashioned Australian defaultism. In the world equals the USA. And that was just the caption. Imagine what the post looks like. Now if we take a look-see here, this post was on Twitter from the Global Statistics account. And here it says, the most famous people in the world, Q3 2025. Sitting at number 1 is Donald Trump at a 99%. Sitting at the second from the top is Brad Pitt. And then you go all the way down to the bottom. Now, if you notice here, all of these individuals are from the United States. Not a singular person mentioned was from another country. Could it be that the Global Statistics page is an American page that only pulls data from the United States and nowhere else? Even though this says the most famous people in the world. And no disrespect to them, but there was obviously people who are way more popular globally from other countries in that quarter last year. So, of course, I have to see what the comments have to say because I can't be the only one thinking like this. Ironic coming from the username Global Statistics, right? That's crazy. That's actually crazy. Like, actually crazy. Global Statistics and proceeds to only list U.S. celebrities. Now, if you said United States statistics, that would make more sense. It also wouldn't because what? But anyways, yeah. What the heck's going on here? Now, there was a reply in that thread of the comment that we just read, and this one was actually pretty interesting. Worth the read for sure. And it says, I'm an American. We learned about this in one of my college courses. Opened my eyes. It's a manipulation technique. We're bred to believe America is the best country. We're told in public schools that we're the only free country. Our sports are all centered around us. Our testing is state and national statistics. It's a way to make us compliant and nationalistic. We must preserve what greatness we have here. The people that died to make this country great, we owe them. So there are American flags everywhere you look. We pledge allegiance to the flag every morning in school. We sing our national anthem at every freaking event. We must show our loyalty. When in reality, we suck. And if you voice that opinion and how the world is so much greater outside of here, you're seen as anti-American, but only around certain people. There are quite a bit of people here who are open-minded. I think once we can get through this generation that's been running the country for the last 5 decades, maybe we'll become less scum on the bottom of everyone's shoes. I hope. Honestly, I couldn't have said it better myself. There's a video that I'm working on behind the scenes, actually, and you guys may have heard me mention it in a prior video, but there is an individual from Germany who lives somewhere in Florida. I'm pretty sure somewhere in Miami, in a gated community of sorts, and made a very wild comment. Now, I'm all for people appreciating the United States. I do. But there are some things that just can't be denied. Like, obviously there's much more crime in the United States as a whole compared to Germany. That's not a controversial statement. Those are just facts. You can easily look this up on the internet. But this individual had something else to say about that. One of the wild statements this individual made, and I'll have to pull a clip of him saying this, but
like, having a gun is the ultimate freedom. Like, you can protect yourself, you can protect your family. If there would be like an authoritarian government change, this is the last line of defense. While in Europe, there's no way. And just look at the history. Germany is one of the examples. We had this famous Austrian painter, and if the people would have had guns, maybe they could have prevented it.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
That's obviously entirely false. Again, I'm working on this video. I wanted to be as accurate and close to what I witnessed unfolding as possible, so it doesn't seem like I'm going hard in the paint on this individual. It just seemed very off-putting, and I wanted an outside opinion, so what better way than asking you guys? This was very eloquently put together as well, because this highlights a lot of things that I grew up with, and I think it's very interesting to talk about. So I'll rant a little bit about this particular comment that we just read through. Yes, America is very patriotic, and it is not a surprise. We are raised and bred to believe that America is the greatest country in the world. There is no country greater. And the little things that we've had to go through as little children through, growing up into our adulthood and whatnot has solidified that ideology for us. And it's scary, because what this does, as this individual mentioned, is it almost makes America void of any type of criticism. You look at the United States, there is a lot of things that are not exactly perfect. There's a lot of things we can point out. But if you dare mention anything, as a U.S. citizen, mind you, a U.S. citizen naturally born in the United States, as an American, if you mention anything that is out of whack in the United States, you're automatically deemed an anti-American person. I'm not anti-American. I actually think it's important that people identify the problems in which they reside so they can make their area more desirable. Traveling allows us to break out of that mold and see what we desire for our country through our travel experiences in other countries. And I think it's a very enriching type of awakening when you realize, whoa, what I have been told was a lie, but we can actually make what we were told somewhat truer than what it was, if we adopt these elements from these different cultures and countries and embed them in ours. And that's all I'm saying. It's okay to call out the problems in the United States. The United States is not the worst country on the entire planet. It has a lot of problems, though, and there are ways that these problems can be fixed, not overnight, but over time and through processes. And the first step in fixing any problem is identifying that there is one. But in a culture that promotes this ideology of, oh, we are the best country on the entire planet, and ridicules any type of criticism, it's hard for people to identify any problems when they know that identifying problems in their own country will result in ostracism. So it's interesting. The people who are actually breaking out of the mold and traveling and stuff like that are seeing the United States from a very different set of lenses. There is another YouTuber that is actually going to be involved in a video that I'm making, and you guys watch his content very regularly. If you guys watch my videos, you absolutely watch this gentleman's videos. And he is a YouTuber that is in England, and he makes a lot of very insightful videos and whatnot. And his perspective on the United States has even changed over the last 10, 15 years. And it's remarkable watching other people who have gotten the privilege of traveling to other places and living in other places outside of the United States look at the United States for what it really is. And think to themselves, okay, well, this is messed up, and these are some things that I think would help. But anytime we bring up any type of criticism, it's always, oh, if you don't like it here, go back to your own country. And I'm like, well, I'm from the United States, so what are you talking about? Or it's, well, if you don't like it here, you don't need to be here. And I'm like, so you also complain about some of the same issues I'm complaining about. But when we address this issue, you're like, oh, you're ungrateful, you don't like this country, go somewhere else. It doesn't fix the problem. If anything, that problem remains persistent and you get taken advantage of. So you're defending the problem that's directly affecting your life. Sad times we live in. But anyways, end rant. Let's get into our next comment. You're telling me that Miley Cyrus, Bill Cosby, Chuck Norris are more famous than Putin, Zelensky, Xi Jinping, Ronaldo, Messi? That's what I'm saying. There's an entire world outside of the United States. Okay? Regardless of what they're famous for. They're famous, and they're definitely up there. So that global statistics page is just full of a bunch of hogwash. Okay? A bunch of hogwash. Anyways, we'll end this video here. Now, before I say goodbye and toodaloo, I would like to ask you guys one simple question I ask in all of these videos. What is the wildest thing one of us Americans has either said or done in your country that you guys came across? Maybe you interacted with one of us and oh my God. Now, again, I'm included in this conversation because I'm American myself. I've said some absolutely diabolical things even while making these videos, okay? You guys call me out all the time, and it makes sense, and I appreciate that. I like being held accountable.